welcome back to the MMA Split podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Josh.
Hi, and I'm Sylvester.
And although I'm not 100%, we are all here to talk about everything that happened on the UFC's final pay-per-view of the year, UFC 269, closing out the year in style, ridiculously entertaining card. Unless you're like me and had to watch pretty much all of your favorite fighters lose one by one after another, in which case it was quite horrible. It was a rough weekend of sport in general. Hamilton got screwed in the F1. That happened. Thank God the Dolphins weren't playing today. Otherwise, that probably would have gone horribly badly as well. But we might as well crack on. So, UFC 269's in the book, guys. We were saying this is the two best lightweights in the world. We both said that, Poirier would be a very deserving champ if he won, and I think we both all agreed that Oliveira kind of needed a defense against somebody like Poirier after winning a vacant belt to really establish that he is the true champ. We have the answer, man. Fuck me, when your jiu-jitsu is that good, what can you say? I'm gutted.
It was a great fight, but let's not all credit to Oliveira. We knew it was going to be a close fight, a great fight. I wouldn't say necessarily that Poirier can't beat him. He just didn't beat. He couldn't beat him on that night. And Bronx looked fantastic. Sly, I know you want to jump in here because you
have your moment, Sly. Enjoy
Charles
it.
Oliveira
Towards the mic
is the
not
best.
directly, but just in that direction.
He's the best fighter in that way. He's probably the greatest of all time. There's no way that we can prove that he's not the greatest of all time, because the guy that thinks he's the greatest of all time has quit fighting before he had to fight a real fighter. Mate, unbelievable. He's unbelievable. He's getting better and better every fight. In the words of Poirier, he's a champion. He's the champion, and yeah, the champion is a really, really fucking good fighter. I honestly kind of felt sorry for Poirier when I watched the interviews, first the ring interview and then the post-match interview, because yeah, the poor guy is, I think he's really, really what do you call it? Shell-shocked. Like he's. I think it was a big reality kind of point.
It's a tough one to take. Earning 2 title shots is a phenomenally difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, in this weight class, earning 1 title shot is a phenomenally difficult thing to do. And would he have been better served not taking the McGregor rematch and fighting Charlie Olives at the start of the year? Who fucking knows? But I honestly think he is gonna, despite what he's kind of pondering publicly, I think he's gonna try and climb the mountain again.
He's 2 wins away, maximum. Let's be honest. Yeah. He's 2 wins away. He beats, fuck me, man. He beats McGregor again, and then or the loser of Dariush Makhachev, and then maybe one more on top of that. He's straight back in. But I don't know, guys. I'm a massive Poirier fan, man. It was gutting. I didn't watch any of the interviews. I stayed up till fucking stupid o'clock in the morning. As soon as he tapped, I switched it off. It'd been a night of disappointment up until that point in terms of the fighters that I root for. I'll say this. I think 3 things didn't help Poirier. I don't know if it helped that pretty much the whole MMA community was kind of talking about him being the favorite and this is his moment. And I don't know if that helped. I'm not a big fan of guys kind of thinking, well, it's my destiny to win. It feels like destiny, stuff like that. I think that's just a dangerous mentality to have. I definitely think that the first time I watched it, I felt that the fingers inside of the glove at the start of round 2 was extremely significant.
It's the end of round 1, wasn't it?
No, round 2.
On the floor was the way he got top control. That's correct, yeah.
Well, what happened is that Poirier was pulling his hand away and he couldn't. And what he then tried to do is he tried to kind of do a granny roll to get away, which put him in bottom position. And I think that really fucked him in the 3rd round. 1, because I think it drained a little bit of energy, beat him up a little bit, completely switched the momentum in the other direction. But also, I think it made him, the moment he was on his back in that second round, I felt that he was, for the rest of that fight, he was fighting, he wasn't fighting to win, he was fighting not to lose. Even, I know how good Oliveira is, but if you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you should never, ever, ever be in a situation where you let a guy take you back while you're standing.
Yeah, but there's black belts and there's black belts.
True, but that's not, that's poor. And I think, why do I think that happened? I think it happened because he was so worried about going to the ground and being taken down again and spending another round on his back, that instead of maybe sensing the danger sign and turning into him and risking going to the ground, but in a safer position, he had it in his mind, don't go to the ground, don't go to the ground, don't let him take you down. And he allowed him to take his back in a way that if that same move scenario happens in the second round, I don't know if Poirier gives his back in the same way.
I think what happened as well is, okay, he shouldn't have given his back, but he was under a whole lot of pressure. You've got to think that the first round was one of the best rounds of fighting I've seen since the last fight that Charles Oliveira had, which again, the first round was insane.
This fight's so similar to the Chandler fight. It's crazy. It's like, so similar.
And it's that kind of thing where I think at the beginning, Oliveira went, okay, I'm pretty good at standing and banging, so I'm going to stand and bang with this guy. And I'm going to show everyone that I'm a really good stand and bang guy. And I think he got punched a few times by Poirier. And he went, okay, I'm going to keep moving.
He took 56 significant strikes to the head.
Really? He did. And how many did Poirier take in that first round?
28.
Fucking hell, yeah.
2 knockdowns, wobbled him on 2 occasions. I
wouldn't be surprised if
the thing is, though, with Oliveira's kind of style, his knockout strength does come from catching guys. The thing is, they've both got nice hands. They both time things well.
Poirier's head movement.
Oliveira's always willing to kind of just sit in there and take some damage if he can land that right, counter hook. Not the right, it's usually the left hand, but at the right time. He just likes to be a clippy son of a bitch. So I don't think necessarily that Oliveira can't stand with Poirier. It's just that if it's going to go to the decision, it's not going to go his way. But if he's just looking for that knockout shot, it can be there for him.
Go for it, Matt.
I was just going to say, I kind of felt this. I saw this more second time of the fight. I still think that the fingers in the glove had an effect. But what I appreciated more watching the fight again when I watched it with Sly the next day is Oliveira made a very quick adjustment. He was going for a takedown as soon as the second round started, and he was going for a takedown again as soon as the third round started. And whether or not he can stand with Poirier or not, I think he was smart enough to realize I'm not coming off the better of these exchanges. I'm catching him, but he's got good head movement. I'm not hitting him in the face clean. He's hitting me clean. He's hurting me clean. And listen, he made an excellent adjustment. So many fighters would have thought, no, I'm going to try and prove something. I knocked out Chandler. I'm gonna fight fire with fire, and he didn't, man. He made an adjustment and he used all the tools at his disposal. When one wasn't working to full effect, he used the other. And I think we touched on this in the pick show, man. Poirier kind of didn't have as many ways to win as Oliveira did. I'll say this as well, though. You can afford to be as aggressive and stay in the pocket and take damage when you know that as soon as you get knocked down, you're not necessarily going to have guys swarming you to finish you in the same way.
Yeah.
Well, no, the first time he went to the floor, he just laid there and Poirier went, no, mate, and he stood back and let him go up. He realised it was not worth it.
He's getting recovery time that other people won't get because people just won't go near him. It's the same thing Sterling's got. It's the only reason why Sterling might have a 1% chance of beating Jan is just that
1%.
I think Jan follows and swarms on top. Jan's
but then he might get in trouble, and I think that depends on how smart Jan is.
Jan didn't in the first fight, to be fair. He was very sensible about that. He'd take down and then he'd move away when he could sense that kind of Sterling was waiting.
It's very confusing once they're on the ground. Can you knee him in the head? Can't you knee him in the head? Clusterfuck. I would say with Oliveira as well, if you do try to follow him to the ground, he is not above just moving that head along the mat. Go on, you can't get it. Human whack-a-mole. That Chandler fight was crazy. This fight was fucking crazy. I love the way. Sorry,
No, keep going, Josh. I keep interrupting you, and it's really rude.
That third round, like, you know, Poirier couldn't get like that baseball grip on the attacking hand the first time, and as soon as like Oliveira got it away, he just kept changing the side of the attack. I mean, the only way to get off the back at that point is to really risk it and try and shake him off, or try and scrape him off against the fence. But yeah, it was over as soon as he got that body triangle in.
He shouldn't have backed up so much in the third round. All of Poirier's best moments happened from forcing Oliveira to back up. It's just, I don't know if this feels better or worse, because I hope Poirier doesn't feel as bad about this one as he does as he felt after the Khabib one, because Khabib, you had this one Hail Mary moment that almost paid off, but essentially you got outclassed. This was a title fight, man. You had your moments, he had your moments, you lost out, you got in a bad position, but you know, we weren't looking at this going, this wasn't Tony Ferguson versus Oliveira. You know what I mean? This wasn't domination. This wasn't like, oh shit, this guy's actually not in the same class anymore. Like, levels have fucking changed in this game. So I hope he continues, man. I hope he continues. And I know that that's tough, but listen, the fourth McGregor fight is there, and that's still a massive fight.
Well, do you think he goes McGregor next? Because McGregor's just going to be asking for the Oliveira fight non-stop. Or do you think he goes with like a guy like Chandler?
I think Chandler has to fight Poirier.
Oh, that would be a great fight.
And I think the winner of those two gets another title shot. Who's thinking about fighting now?
Probably going to be Gaethje next.
Gaethje.
And then after that, arguably the winner of Benny D against Makhachev.
So you could do Poirier you could do Poirier Chandler, you could do Poirier Dariush if he loses that. I mean,
who's McGregor going to take on then?
First fucking scales. You've seen him ballooned up to 190.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about that for a second? Because there is literally no way that a man who is not even able to spar again until April after a broken leg has done that without steroids. Like, literally no way.
No. There is no. You can't, guys. There's a lot of other things than steroids. Yes, steroids are used a lot, and I'm not saying he hasn't used steroids. I've seen it; it looks massive. But I followed the guy on Instagram. I followed the guy, Conor McGregor. It's very entertaining. He trains every day, and if you train that much, and
no. Like, 2 welterweight fights back to back. The heaviest I think you got was 168.5.
But what I'm saying putting on muscle with other things that are legal, creatine, protein.
Okay, yes, but there's a reason he didn't do it for any of his fights at welterweight, and that's because it's not going to be effective. Whatever he's doing now is completely sideways from being productive.
But do you not think he wants to go up a weight?
No,
I think he's been saying he now wants the Charles Oliveira fight, which he won't fucking get.
No, he's not having the Charles Oliveira fight. He's going to have. I don't get it. I honestly, I don't get why he would go up in weight, why he'd get bigger. I thought he was going to fight. I thought he had beef with Max Holloway. I thought
Matt already said, pretty sure it's roids. That, or he's taking so much coke that he started eating on coke, which, you know.
It's hard to say, though. In terms of why would he go up? Well, why would he get bigger if he's going to fight in the same weight class? There's a theory that you are stronger if you gain excess muscle first and then lose that to go down to weight, rather than just try and build your muscle up to a certain weight.
It makes sense that he would be doing something as drastic as this, because he's just lost twice against a guy that he does not want to lose against. He just lost twice against Poirier, and for his ego, that must be fucked up, because he knows how easily he beat him in the first fight. Okay,
you know what? I don't think that's it, because whatever you say about McGregor, and you can praise McGregor all you want, he's not oblivious to the level of fighting, of talent that he's fighting. Usually a lot of his spiel is to get the other guy wound up and frustrated while he's completely focused and taking things seriously. Like, he said a bunch of shit about Aldo. He thinks Aldo is one of the greatest fighters ever. I think it's not that he feels like Poirier's this bum and stuff like that, like, oh, I beat the guy so easily. He knows he beat him in a different situation. I think for him, the frustration comes from the fact that Poirier represented just off the top for him. And he wanted to believe that he's still the top. And 2 losses like that kind of cement that you're not that guy anymore. No, I think that's more frustrating.
That's what I mean. If you're not that guy anymore, what do? Do you keep being that guy and you're going to try a different way? Or Do you
Nah,
change?
well,
Do you change your physiology? Do you change the way your body is built so that when you fight, you're able to have
you're
different
both wrong.
movements?
You're both wrong.
He's got a
He
weird.
used to be self-aware and he used to know what his best weight was and everything else. He went off the fucking deep end a little while ago, and he's still batshit crazy. This is a cokehead Roy Roy just swelling up for no fucking reason while he rehabs his leg. He's so far away from being able to take a fight at 155. It's a joke. And yeah, he used to understand it. He used to get it. His finger was on the pulse. These days, he's the maddest of mad fucks. So he hasn't got a good idea left in his head.
Is there not another mad fighter we could give him? Some other guy that's completely off the rail.
Khamzat Chimaev.
Jason Miller, mayhem.
But you see, if he fights Jason
War
Miller,
Machine.
yeah, but I mean, Jason Miller, honestly, I think he'll beat him the same way he beat Cowboy. Maybe, eh? That's the way I see it.
Well,
and then he
of
gets
course
the
he beat
title shot.
Jason Mayhem Miller is like 49 years old. If Conor
Oh,
can't beat him,
sorry.
there's no point fucking
Okay,
beating
okay,
him.
okay.
Pretty,
But what I'm
pretty
saying
sure
is that-
Mayhem's in prison at the moment.
Okay,
He
well,
might be,
okay,
yeah.
he's probably not going to fight him unless Conor McGregor also goes to prison, which is probably more
Yeah, you
likely.
never know.
But
I don't think Mayhem's got that Mayweather money for his law team.
no, but
There's
yeah,
nothing. There's
Mm.
nothing McGregor could do to wind up in a prison with Mayhem at this point.
I'd be happy to see McGregor fight Oliveira after fighting a bum in between, the same way he got the fight because he beat Cowboy, and I feel that's what's going to happen because he's
Can I just interject something, because this is an interesting one. As somebody who is a McGregor fan, would you feel, even as a fan, it's a little disingenuous if he doesn't have to beat one or two guys?
No, that's what I'm saying.
What
I'm saying as a very, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of Conor McGregor as a fighter and partly as an entertainer. Partly because he's not as funny as he used to be, but I still enjoy it. It's still, oh, okay, what's Conor McGregor going to say? And I'm a fan in the way that, yeah, I want to see him the same way as you two guys want to see him. Even if you don't like him, if he fights, you will be there in front of your TV. You will watch the whole fight. You won't be eating. You won't be going for a piss the whole time he's fighting, because that is how entertaining his fights are.
Especially now, because he's less likely to win.
Yeah,
It's gonna
okay,
be way more
whichever way you
enjoyable
see
for
it,
me.
but it's the same as...
The way I see it is, I really hope that ESPN is still doing 30 for 30 in 20 years' time, so that once all the shit's come out, I can watch an all, an hour to an hour and a half special on it and be like, ha, yeah, he was fucking mad. What a wrongin'.
What a cokehead. Yeah, that'll probably happen.
Should we move away from Conor McGregor and just very quickly look at Oliveira Gaethje as a matchup? How do I put this? Gaethje got tapped so easy. He got tapped like a man whose takedown defense is so good that he's just figured, jiu-jitsu, I'm never even going to face it, mate. And I don't think that, that's a bit of a fucking 50-50 to go with somebody like Oliveira. Do I think Gaethje pieces him up on the feet? Yeah, I honestly do. But if Gaethje gets taken down, Oliveira submits.
Also, if you guys watch the last Oliveira fight, he doesn't need to take you down to submit you. He just needs to get his hands on you. Mate, can we just, for 1 or 2 minutes, just talk about the way he submitted Poirier? I saw it coming, Matt saw me. I saw that coming as soon as he got his hands on his back. I was like, guys, this is going to be insane. And he just slowly...
As soon as he didn't go to shake him off.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you have to shake him off now. You have to just fucking try and get him as high as you can so he can't be as effective.
Not even just that. At a certain point, you stop standing up. Like, what was it? Was it the Kennedy and Zekwichu fight when he was fighting that submission guy? I can't remember what the guy's name is. And he spent the whole round just standing up with the guy on his back, fighting off the choke. And the whole time, everyone was just like, you're in the same position you would be if you were on the ground. The difference is one, you're not having to carry the whole guy's weight as you're doing this. And two, you can hip thrust, you can turn. It's a lot easier to... you've got gravity on your side.
There are different schools of thought. So, for me personally, I would rather, if it wasn't to the point that it was like too much pain from the body triangle alone, and I felt comfortable enough that they couldn't move their shoulders as much with as much leverage to try and like change sides and sink it in, I might feel more comfortable standing, just because I'm quite resilient in that way. And like taking a lot of weight is tiring, but not as tiring as it would be for me to try and maintain a body triangle on someone in a standing position. That would probably gas my legs harder. Depends what you train, depends how you're built. But some guys do kind of, you see it, or some fighters do kind of see it where they're like, I have more faith in my base right now than I do in their legs in this position.
Yeah.
And depending on how much time's left in the round, if I've just got to stand here and maybe put like one arm on the fence, or maybe even try and like put you up on the fence, my legs aren't going to be as shaky at the start of the next round compared to what I think your legs are trying to maintain that triangle. It really varies. And I think with Oliveira, for fucking sure, that's a mistake. That's a guy that has a lot of resistance built up for that specific kind of thing. So,
okay, question. And this is because I've never been in the situation and I don't exactly know. You're Poirier, and this might sound really stupid. You're Poirier, standing up, you got the guy on your back. You know where he is. You know where his head is. You know you're about to get choked out. You're like 7 seconds from tapping.
Flip forward, flip back. Try and
Why
bang the guys on the
are
head.
you even allowed to do that? If you're standing up like this?
yes, yeah. Yep.
Are you allowed to
You can
jump
flip forward and sort of spike him.
and literally
Yeah.
dive backwards so
Yeah.
that the guy lands on his head? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
The back dive rarely works well, rarely causes a lot of impact. The front dive I've seen be quite effective before. What I would have done is really just fought for that 2-on-1 grip while I'm kind of like bent over and just keep trying to shake him down before he can choke me out. If nothing else, just get him higher up on the back. If I then throw myself all the way back, if I've got the seatbelt position and he's high up on the back and we've just hit the ground, that's my best opportunity to try and explode round. You know, that's when the triangle is going to be a little too high, a little looser, and he's just been kind of, you know, it's going to be a bit of a winding effect, like landing flat on your back like that with a second man's weight on you. So,
But even like as a last minute thing, like you're here, you're standing up, and you're about to go. Oh, I'm going to tap. Why not just throw yourself back, and you know whatever happens, happen? Or is it a really? That's the question I have. Is it a big danger for your neck? Can you break your neck doing that?
Well, your neck, any time that you're flipping yourself forward, there's a danger that you can hit your own head as well. I'd also say once you've made the decision, once you're about a second away from making the decision to tap, you're already probably losing, not just that, but blood is literally already being cut off to your brain. Like you can feel that this isn't good, and you haven't quite got, it's like holding somebody underwater. It's like they're not gonna, at a certain point, they're not thinking, you know, you're just like gasping, that panic of wanting oxygen. You're not sort of calmly thinking about what you need to do in the same way.
yeah. Well, so it's instinctive. You drill all the time tapping, because when you're sparring, rolling, anything like that, you're not going to spike them on their heads and you're not going to get choked unconscious because you're just going to lose training time. So you're not thinking, you're instinctive. This is a tap moment, not a spike this guy on the head moment. But yeah, you're right. I know what you're saying, Sly. Like, why wasn't, you know, he ready to die for this? I probably was consciously, but you know, once you get to that point, it's just the instincts. It's not conscious thought.
It's submissions are different from like being rocked or knocked down. Like there are guys that can take 1,000,001 punches, and there are guys that will not tap, and they're not necessarily always the same people because it's your brain's just operating on different elements. You know, everyone has their weaknesses. I want to move on, but I also want to say this as well. Do you think there's an element where when you're a black belt, it can give you a false confidence, even if you know that the black belt that you're facing is in a different level? Like, do you think maybe there wasn't quite panic stations moving even with him on the back? Because in Poirier's mind, he's thinking, I'm a black belt. I've dealt with somebody on my back. I know how to fight off the hands and all that kind of stuff. And
I don't think there is kind of like complacency, intimidation, anything like that. But I think Poirier is very aware of the mistakes he made. And I'm kind of reading between the lines. But from everything he said after the fight, you know, do I have it in me to kind of fight back to that title shot again? I'm going to have to go and reassess, and I'll have that answer in a couple of weeks. It makes me think that this guy is aware, like, shit, I know I could have done that better. And I did everything I could to put myself in a position to do that better. I just didn't do it better. It just wasn't his best night.
Wasn't his night,
unfortunate.
Man. And listen, it was Oliveira's night, and fair play to the guy. He is a undisputed champion. Nobody can take that away from him. And I hope that this Poirier defense wipes away some of the thought that he's not a legitimate champ because of what happened with Khabib.
Which is ridiculous because the guys look fantastic. 10-fight win streak. It's not his fucking fault. He didn't get his title shot against Khabib.
Mate, Khabib is a fucking pussy, man. Khabib, I don't think would actually win against Poirier. I think Khabib would take Poirier down and then he would.
The man's dad did die. Like, I am completely okay with him retiring. Love him as a coach. Love his like input in the media here and there, like stirring shit up. He's not a pussy, but like it's not his fault. It's not Charles's fault that we never get to see that fight. It just is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. And UFC's got a shorter history on this, but boxing has had some great champions. And what inevitably happens is that they eventually go away. And if you give it enough time, people forget. And people look at your accomplishments. Like, there was a period of time with Robbie Lawler where he was viewed as, you'd never be the champ when GSP was around. And there's truth to that. Probably genuine truth. But fucking two of the greatest title defenses of all time later, in terms of action-packed, bloody, exciting fights, and no one cares. Look at the two fights that he's just had. If he has one or two more like that and keeps the belt, no one's going to care. If he gets 4 title defenses, well, everyone's going to say, everyone talks about Khabib, he only defended the belt 3 times. So people have short memories with stuff like this. History, time establishes the legitimacy of your legacy much better than short term.
Talking about legacy.
Let's talk about this. Juliana Pena said some mad shit. She believed in herself, and fair fucking play, because she just went for it.
Mate.
She just fucking went for it. She didn't get bullied. She didn't get intimidated. She didn't give up after getting her ass kicked in round 1.
Well, she looked a little intimidated after that first leg kick that took her off her feet. She had that Megan Anderson, oh shit look. But she rallied. So
she made a decision to stand in there and just throw punches regardless of whether or not she was going to get knocked out. Yep. And against Nunes, that deserves a lot of credit. However impressive her win was, and listen, this is spectacular. This is one of the biggest underdog wins, biggest upsets in title fight history of all time. Amanda is the fucking GOAT. She was not fucking right that night, man.
Mate, she was a very ill GOAT, mate. She was a GOAT with sour milk. She was rubbish. She looked like she was Megan Anderson.
I felt there were 3 things.
She looked like Cyborg in the Cyborg Nunes fight.
No. I disagree with that, and I'll tell you why. I think she looked slow. Very slow. And I think she wasn't used to... She's had 3 of her last 4 fights being at... We've also been at featherweight. And it's not just that you don't have to cut the weight, it's that they're not as quick. And there's a speed element. She was winding up these big looping shots and just being caught with just simple, straight down the middle jabs, right, straights. They weren't particularly hard, but they were what was landing.
She was moving forward into the jabs. 2 or 3 times she moved forward into the jab. And even though the jab was a small one, it was still you saw her head go.
Well, these shots were hard enough to piss her off to the point that she stopped jabbing herself. She was trying to lead with the rear hand too much, leading with the face quite often. Pena threw something like 70-odd strikes in that second round that landed. And it was just, jab, 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 1, 2, 1, 2, jab, 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 1, 2, 1, 2. Just basic shit, straight down the middle. But she just, after that first round, obviously we all felt before the fight, there's no fucking way Pena's winning this. After the first round, Jesus Christ, there's no way anyone was going to put any money on Pena. Her team had confidence. She had confidence. She comes out and she's like, I'm just going to hit this chick in the fucking face. I'm just going to stand here in the face and see what happens. And I didn't think it would work out for her, but Nunes just began to look a little frustrated, a little overwhelmed. It really did remind me of Cyborg's face when they were fighting. And yeah, she just she let Pena land way too many clean shots and just sapped her will. And yeah, maybe she didn't look at her best, but Nunes has always been kind of a bit very up and down in terms of, the the way she looks before fights, the way she trains. It always looks like there's an air of inconsistency. Well, what's been phenomenal is her ability to just really fucking hurt other women she's fighting, and that's why she's had such consistent success. Plus, she's so skilled on the ground. Yeah, man.
I just can't help but feel so. I think the weight cut after a couple of years probably drained her more than she thought. At 34, she's not getting younger. It doesn't get easier, particularly after you get used to fighting at featherweight. You got to wonder whether or not COVID. You know, they didn't rebook this fight 2 months later. You'd have to think maybe she had a bad case of COVID. Maybe there were some after effects. That's why it took so long to rebook. And it certainly looks like her cardio was like, I know we've seen her gas, but we've never seen her gas like that. And I've seen her throw more punches in recent fights where she's gone 5 rounds and been more active than she was in that second round, even being reckless and loading up. So I also think she underestimated her. I think she kind of just thought, not feeling tired. This is Juliana Pena. I'm just going to knock her out. What are we even doing here? She's going to stand there and bang with me. Great, I'm going to knock her out. And then you're lining up this big looping overhand, and she's catching you straight first every single time, and you're not adjusting because you still think none of this matters. I've just got to hit her once. And it's a terrible attitude to have inside of going a fight. I don't want this to be Nunes not being good, though. Although I don't think she was good. I do want to give credit to Pena because she showed some guts and self-belief throughout a lot of this. I know she said the whole "I'm not surprised, motherfuckers" afterwards, but nobody looked more surprised that she just won than she did.
Mate, she also coached with the ref or something else to show. Did I win?
Like, yeah. She wasn't aware that it was a finish immediately.
Like, it's because she finished her with like the shittiest choke. Like,
she didn't have the hooks in.
That wasn't a choke.
What was it? It was so shit, man.
Or was it a neck crank or something then?
Did you hear what Ben Askren said? Ben Askren was having it, mate.
It was a choke, but it wasn't a you've got that. It wasn't a Dustin where it's like I'm about to go unconscious and I'm going to tap because you've got this under the chin. It was this is across my neck. I'm miserable. This is a horrible position. I'm done.
It was a McGregor tap.
It was a McGregor tap. What did Ben Askren say?
Ben Askren shut on her, mate. He asked, do you lose the GOAT status for getting rear naked choked with no boots in?
No boots in or no hooks in?
I think he means hooks.
I think that's the word he used for hooks.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
GSP tap to strikes, man. It happens sometimes. Sometimes you know you've lost. Yeah. Sometimes you just know I'm done. Okay, it's not under my neck, but what? We're going to go for another 20 seconds until she locks it in? I'm fucked. I'm fucked. I know I'm fucked. My brain is tired. My body's tired. I'm not used to this.
I'm glad you brought up the GSP example because the other thing is something that we consistently see throughout combat sports, not just MMA, is the weight of being a dominant champion. It doesn't give you excesses of confidence. You know, usually it's a very weighty, draining thing, very intense, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. I think the only one I've never really heard complain about it too much is Mighty Mouse. But he seemed pretty relieved when he left the UFC, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it has a fucking effect for sure. And it's stuff like that, you're going to be prone to a bad day here or there. So, shit, you know, you're right. Nunes isn't at her best. It's not really about Nunes' performance as much as it is about Pena's. But there is something about it where you're like, feels like a corny Disney movie comeback, you know?
Yeah.
This is Gordon Bombay's Team USA overcoming the heavily favored Iceland, those evil, icy scumbags. It was just, hey, you know, how does she beat her at the end of the movie? Oh, she just punches her in the face a few times and then just fucking gets the choking, yeah? And like, we're going to get good choreography for this. It's like, nah, we'll just cut it together quickly. Pucker, jobs are good.
And literally, the way that she won was by believing in herself and going forward.
Yeah, like, so does anyone think that Pena is unquestionably slightly better than Nunes and is going to go clean out 2 divisions now? No. But she has earned the right to fucking figure shit out as the champion in her next fight. And fair fucking play.
Well,
I'll tell you
let's-
who's delighted about that right now.
Kiesa.
Jenko.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll say this as well. Could you say that this is the Rousey curse striking again? What do I mean by that? No UFC champion has been able, in the women's division, has been able to get fast 6 title fight wins in a row. It's the number they all get stuck on. Rousey had 6 defenses, but she was given the title. She didn't have to win the title.
Mhm.
So all 6 of those were title defenses, but it didn't include a title fight win. In bantamweight division, okay, Nunes has had featherweight title wins as well, but if you just count in the division, she'd had 5 defenses and 1 title fight win before that. This was the 6th defense. Joanna down at strawweight, she was on 1 title fight win to get the belt and 5 defenses when she lost to Rose. Shevchenko, I'm just putting it out there. How many defenses does she have at?
Maybe it is that curse.
5 defenses. Maybe there's a curse.
There isn't. There isn't. There's only one curse in sport, all right, and that's the fucking Drake curse. And everything else is just superstitious nonsense. Yeah. Like to the point that fucking AJ gets beat by other people as well. God damn. Putting chinks in the mental armor. That's what that is.
What is your theory that you're talking about?
The Drake curse.
Oh yeah, if people get a picture with Drake before like a big final, yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure not to get any pictures of him.
It's had 100% accuracy.
Wow. Okay,
it was actually a coach. He banned his team from taking pictures with Drake.
Oh my god.
Yeah, for this reason. It's real.
Shit.
Okay, let's talk about the feature fight. I fell asleep during this fight. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't even that bad of a fight. It was just fucking 5 in the morning. I fell asleep in my chair for 20 minutes. What do you want from me?
Who was this?
Neil Magny.
Jeff
Neal.
Well,
to be honest, having watched the whole fight, wasn't the best fight. I mean, it was a really good first round.
Very tactical.
And then it just got really tactical, and it was really like they were both fighting on points. I think.
I kind of thought Ponzi won.
Well, I wanted Ponzi to win, but I just think that Jeff was just too fast and a tiny bit too long, and it just felt like every time Ponzi would come in, he would just get hit.
Jeff wasn't too long. He's got fucking dinosaur
No,
arms.
but he was something about it was just. I think it was his body movement or something. But
he's good at counter.
yeah, his movement looked a lot better in this one. He was a lot quicker out of the starters blocks. You know, like every time he went to move, like he was kind of exploding a bit.
Yeah.
I also think he knew there wasn't much of a wrestling threat to worry about. He wasn't going to have a Neil Magny. I'm just going to get fucking controlled for 4 minutes situation.
Not for nothing either, but Ponzinibbio does have a tendency to kind of make guys look fast. So, you know, he's not getting younger. It was a close fight. I think the decision for Neil's fair. I could have seen it going either way. I was absolutely gutted because I had an absolute shit show on the picks this week.
Oh, don't even go there, mate.
Ferocious. I'm going to assume that
if I didn't win this week, I'm fucking amazed. Well, let's talk about one of the other big talking points, because however much Jeff Neal versus Ponzinibbio had its moments, it's not the fight that I want to dwell on too much. Fair play to Jeff. He needed that. That was 2 on the bounce, on the skid for him. Big win, particularly after all the legal troubles and just shit and illness that he's had in the last couple of years. So glad to see him get back in the winners column. Let's talk about Cody Garbrandt. 5 losses in 6 fights. He was technically going to be 2 rounds down against Sun Sao before he landed that admittedly sensational knockout. But this is a bad road for him after starting so well, looking so unbeatable on his way to the bantamweight title. And listen, we can talk about weight cuts, and we will, and we can talk about speed, and we will. Before he got hit, I found it very surprising, and it's the same thing I saw in the Rob Font fight. I kind of saw this in the Sun Sao fight as well. It's like he's afraid to throw. It's like he's so afraid of getting countered that he's just circling and moving around. And I love an element of that to the game. But he's not got a long reach. You know, Cara France had a longer reach than him, even though he was 4 inches shorter. And it just felt like Kai was able to, at a certain point, just be aggressive because there was very little coming back from Garbrandt. He seemed a bit shy, looking for the perfect safe moment. And then factor in that as a result, he's just too easy to get caught, man. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. Do you think it was more the weight cut? Do you think it was speed?
Well, no, you see guys like this come up, right? You know, guys that run through the Thomas Almeidas of the world in mere seconds, and they get to this point where their coaches say, we can't take risks anymore. You have to be a champion now, champion mindset. You have to work harder. So that means, really kind of feeling things out, really establishing the footwork, feinting a lot more, essentially throwing less volume and making everything count more. And they get so dedicated to try to kind of fight the smarter fight that they kind of don't see all the mistakes that they're making in the build-up. And it does begin to look so. You take a guy like Tyron Woodley. I don't think that's a guy adopting championship mindset, trying to be the new GSP. That's a guy with arthritis in one, if not both hands, that just really can't fucking throw anymore and properly got gun shy. And then you get guys like Garbrandt that, with their big test, it was against Dominic Cruz on 2 shit knees, coming off like a war with Dillashaw. And he just glided in and out. And, I got this champ shit down. Fucking just call me like the bantamweight Tony Ferguson. It's champ shit only. And then they come up against tests. They get hit. His chin's not going to be where it's at, not because of the weight cut, because, he's been knocked out so many fucking times. And he's just unfortunately working kind of with damaged goods within his own chin and his body. And he didn't get the right kind of experience coming up to really appreciate how to fight like a champion. And he should just rely more on a simple game plan, on brute strength, speed, heavy hands, and just throw in a shameless amount of takedown attempts. That's what I think.
See, I kind of feel that the Dominic Cruz fight was the perfect balance of it. He found exactly who he needed to be. That balance of being the champion and being aggressive and in and out and confident and all the rest. And then he fought TJ twice, who he fucking had his whole rivalry with, and he was red hot. And then he had the Pedro fight where he went in red hot and got knocked out. And then he goes away for a little bit. And when he comes back against the Sun Sao, I thought he was a little gun shy, but it worked for him. And then he has the Rob Font fight and he's gun shy. He gets picked apart because Rob Font is long, he's tall, and he has a jab.
Well, Rob Font can do that champ shit. He is a next level guy.
I think he's a bit lost, to be honest. Like, whatever he does next, Cody, I think he needs to, are you doing flyweight? Is this your thing? Is this what you want to do? You're going to make that sacrifice. You're going to make that cut. You're going to say this was first fight in the new division. Wouldn't work out well. I'm going to build myself back up and do it. Or does he go back to bantamweight because, it's easier and maybe he feels his chin's more confident there? Whatever he does, chin up in the air. Too easy to hit. Guard down here. He's not doing anything to help himself. And it's not like he was kind of moving around or something like that. He was relying on his feet too much. And when he got knocked down with that right hand, he just stopped. He's just stopped right in front of Kai. He's not blocking. He's not got his guard up. He's not moving. And Kai's quick, man. You go down and wait. You might be as fast as those guys. You might be even still a little bit quicker. But you're still dealing with guys who are faster than what you have fought. So even if you have got the speed for the division in terms of what you can do offensively, it doesn't mean you're accustomed to dealing with the speed that's coming back at you.
Yeah. The game just got faster.
Like, Kai looked amazing, though.
Kai looked fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I think this is 2 first-round knockouts in a row now, yeah?
And he had the punch room.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a title shot off the back of this. But I think he's going to get like that eliminator shot for sure.
Cody would have got the shot. Kai wouldn't. It's one of those bullshit things. Why is nobody talking about Askar Askarov? They keep saying there's no one else in the division. And then it's just like Askar Askarov. It's just like, I've got a fucking draw with the champ. What are we talking about here? It's the only blemish on my record.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. I think Askarov against Kai Kara France, set up the next title shot.
I'm down for that.
God.
Quick poll though. Do you think stay at flyweight, go back to bantamweight for Cody? Stay
at flyweight.
Stay at flyweight. You say give up fighting.
Oh, well, hang on. I say this though. Whatever he does next, take some time off.
I say he should fight against Sean O'Malley.
That's a dumb fight for him right now.
Yeah, but they'll make Sean O'Malley look really good. That'll be nice. They had a bit of beef.
Is that our way of segueing to Sean O'Malley?
Oh, mate, I'll segue every day with Sean O'Malley.
He looked fucking good, man. What can you say? Piver's a tough guy. That finishing sequence was stunning. The way he went to the body and then the right hook coming up on top level.
Yeah.
And was never in position where it looked like he was in danger of being taken down.
And did you hear that he was fighting on the back of a painful rib injury? So he suffered a rib injury doing some jiu-jitsu. Some guy took him in a triangle and he turned, and unluckily his rib got badly hurt. He was 99% sure not to be in the fight.
Yeah, he said all this immediately after the fight. Yeah,
of course. He didn't want to say. He didn't want to use an excuse. He's not a pussy.
Yeah,
but he didn't want to tell him before the fight that he couldn't go to the floor. He couldn't go to the floor. He said, if I was on my back on the floor, I would not have been able to get up.
I'll defend him on this one. It's not him that said it. What happened is that his coach went over to Joe and said, "This is what they've dealt with," and then Joe brought it up at the start of his interview.
Oh, right.
So I'll forgive O'Malley on that one. And listen,
well, no, he tied it all into being there for the fans, not wanting to pull out for anyone. So I appreciate that.
I think he nailed this whole week, man. I think he nailed the fight week. I think he nailed the press conference, the parts that he was involved in. He was respectful to Piver afterwards. He had a great fucking week, man. He had a great night.
And he's it's a very interesting interview at the end, the post-match conference from him. I watched that as well, big fan. And he talks about a lot, of all the things that kind of like he thinks might be the reason why he's a bit better. He says, well, he's played video games since he was 3 years old. He's saying, playing all these like reflex games, shooters, and all this. Might have contributed a lot to him actually being good at fighting. It's another thing.
Well, it does develop hand-eye coordination and reactions.
Yeah, I think it does a lot to that. He also mentioned how he's not in the fight game, he's in the fight business. So he's doing this, very much as a business. He's just very good.
It's working.
Yeah, and
Dana White's literally come out and said, like, well, I guess we've got to crack open the paybook for fucking O'Malley. Like,
yeah.
We need to move on up, so I guess it's a new contract for him.
This is the right division to do that in, because everything past Piver now, you're dealing with some really, really, really good fighters.
This is the post-fight picture and the comment. I don't know if I can show that to the camera.
He says, "I'm here for the game and all the pussy that comes with it."
He's just there with the fattest spliff on the sofa. He's a cool guy. I think he's really entertaining. I think he's even funny, man. He said, what did he say? One of the questions was asked, like, "Oh, do you think some people don't like you?" He said, "Yeah, it's possibly, that I don't have all the fans, but everyone loves watching me. But it's possible, I've got some weird coloured hair, some facial tattoos, probably not the
some stupid shit from time to time."
Yeah, so he seems to be quite an honest guy. He seems to be like I think he's very he's probably a bit immature, but at the same time very switched on, if that makes sense.
Well, definitely maturing as a fighter. I think after the Martinho fight, how great he was with the feints and everything, especially like feinting like spinning attacks. I was worried he might go to the well on it too much, but just sprinkled it in perfectly against Piver. And like that last like sort of 30 seconds really felt like a fucking masterclass. This kid's pretty fucking special. It'd be interesting to see what he can do if he does start moving up against ranked fighters now.
Durability is really the only question with him. What happens when he's fighting better guys who will hit him? And will hit him clean, because that bantamweight division is too good. You're not just going to outclass everybody without getting hit, and it's the only question. Not so much in terms of, I'm not talking about toughness, like his willingness to take a shot. I'm talking about things like, he's had leg injuries, he's had foot injuries.
He breaks. He's had the problem. Yeah, he injured his rib doing wrestling.
Broken foot really came from kind of bad technique, attacking with so many kicks. You got to land shin. You can't land foot. Metatarsals break. Your shin doesn't. Well, I mean, you check it right. Shin might break, but like not like a foot does.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. Like The foot, that was just like landing too many kicks in a bad spot on your foot. The ankle against Oliveira was like a stinger on that leg nerve, and then rolling on it a couple of times. What else has he done?
Well,
I mean, because I do think like durability maybe used to kind of look like it could be an issue, but he is kind of filling out. He seems to be kind of cutting a bit more weight for this. I don't want to see him move up to featherweight. I think this is a good division for him for like how fast and elusive he is. You're right. He is going to get hit at some point, but he has so much fucking power himself at this weight class that I'm interested to see what he can do.
I think he's definitely in contention for the title. I think
at some point, yeah,
I think if he keeps improving, every fight he's going to have, he's going to be at least even or favorite. And I think in this division, he can get a title. And I think, let's see if he's ambitious enough. But if he was, he might move up a division. And there, I don't think he'll get a title.
Listen,
I don't think he'll get a title against.
There are killers in this division before you get that, and then there are good fighters, really good fighters, that have specific problems that they would cause that we need to see answered. So like the guy that I look at in this division that stands out as being different from the rest and is kind of the only guy that really offers this threat purely is Dashvili with the wrestling. Because if you can fight Dashvili and win and not just get put on your back the whole time, I'll really believe that you can do something special, because that's a tough thing to answer. And then
O'Malley's smart enough not to take that fight.
Not right now, but eventually down the road, he's going to have to fight. And even if it's not Dashvili, you've got, Pedro Munoz. He probably would back himself to beat Pedro, and we'll talk about Pedro in a sec, but still a dangerous guy. Same leg kicks that Cheeto throws. He knows how to throw. He hits hard. He's patient. He doesn't bite on a lot of feints. Now, he's also very beatable, as we're going to talk about in a second, if you can do certain things. And he certainly isn't that top level. But even if you look at guys like, Rob Font, I think, difficult fight. Aldo, difficult fight. Cruz, difficult fight.
Difficult, but not. I'm not saying. I'm saying difficult, but at least even. Yeah, at least even. And you know that on points, unless he's going to play against a guy that takes him down, he's most likely going to win on points because his output is just higher, and he counters you every time you come in. So
he's not. The only thing I'd say, and listen, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy's personality, but I'm a big fan of the way that the guy fights. Nothing but props to how he's doing everything at the moment. I just think that you don't steamroll those guys in the same way. You don't just outclass.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just think that if he goes even in a fight and he's smart enough, which he seems to be, as his fight IQ is smart enough. By the way, did you hear what he said about DC? I'll come back to that. I think if his fight IQ is smart enough, then he doesn't go for finishes. He fights from distance. He's faster, longer than anyone in the division, I think. And it's really fucking annoying. I think it's really fucking annoying to try and beat a guy like this unless you can really take him down.
Sorry to interject. Yeah. It's not so much you're right or wrong on it. It's more that just because we haven't seen him be in that situation. Like, we're about to talk about Cruz, and one of the things that stands out with that fight is that it wasn't going right, but he stayed calm and pulled himself back. And that's the only thing we haven't quite seen from O'Malley against guys where it's not so much that you're not technically better than them. Probably you may very well be, but it's that they're not going to get as frustrated if they lose the first part. They're not going to completely give up or kind of quit mentally if they get rocked or something like that. They'll make adjustments in the cage. They've got outstanding coaches that are going to help them if they get to the end of the round. So it's just, we haven't had that question answered. Whereas, let's say Paiva had shown up and this had been a real war and he got put in his back a couple of times, had to fight his way up. I feel like that might have been answered a little bit more, but it's just that we haven't seen this guy really have to deal with too much in-cage adversity. The only time that we did, listen, anybody, if he, I'm not saying that any other fighter, if that kick had landed in the same way, isn't going to end up in the same position as O'Malley did, but we just don't have any more data than that to go on. And that's, before I start thinking about Peter Yan fights and Corey Sandhagen fights and all that kind of stuff, there are guys on that ladder that I feel he needs to beat. It's the same thing I've got about Chimaev. Chimaev might beat everyone in that division, but I need to see him beat that, top 10, number 8, number 7 guy before we can start really putting him in
Yeah,
that.
well, that's also a guy that we've seen just that will win fights where he wants to win them across all kind of facets of MMA in very brief moments. O'Malley very much appears to come in the one flavor. Although I do understand like his jiu-jitsu is constantly improving. It's a big focus of his training. I think he's always going to be an exciting stand-up guy. Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions with O'Malley, and we're not going to be looking far up the ranking. It's going to be the likes of Song Yadong, Cody Stamen. They wouldn't, but it would be someone around the same ranking as like Frankie Edgar. I don't think they'd make that fight, but it's going to be someone like that next, and that's going to be the next test.
Agreed.
And the guy's 27, 28, so I think he's timing it all perfectly. Maybe look for a title shot when he's 30. Yeah.
Final word. Could I interject with the interjection of the week, which is who shot on Cormier this week? And this week it was actually O'Malley that shot on Cormier in his post-match interview, saying that Cormier probably didn't have the best fight IQ because in his last fight he actually overheard in the cage Cormier shouting, "Why is O'Malley watching the clock? I just saw him look at the clock. He shouldn't look at the clock." To which O'Malley responded, "Why wouldn't I look at the clock? I need to know how long is left in the fight." And we can move on to the next fight now.
Well, it's do you look away for a second? And the truth is, if you're as fast as O'Malley and you fight at that distance and you've got that gap, yeah, you should know how much time you got left. If you're DC and you've got that mentality of like always blast through, never be looking for excuses, never be looking for a reason to quit, never take your eyes off your opponent, then you don't look off the clock. Don't look at the clock. But yeah.
I'd say as well, I think DC viewed that as being an action that's usually indicative of a fighter gassing and being tired, particularly when it happens in the last round. Like, if he'd looked at the clock in the second round or the first round, it might not have been mentioned in the same way. But when you've thrown as many punches as O'Malley had, and you've got a guy who's in your face, still walking forward, and then you're looking up at the clock every now and again, I think DC's viewing it as he probably viewed it, thinking, man, if I'd thrown that many punches and it was the third round and some guy was still in my face, man, I don't know. I think I'd be looking up at the clock. I'd be seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
So I can understand. And listen, O'Malley might want to rewrite that a certain way. He might have been looking up at the clock because he was tired. He might not have been, but nobody can blame him for it. It's like, fuck, man, you're fighting 15 minutes. You've put a lot of output out. Like, you've got the fight won. What was it? Joanna used to look up at the clock a lot in the 5th round in her title defense streak, particularly when she fought Andrade. Afterwards, she's just like, this girl never stopped coming forward. I was just doing this the whole time, and I was hitting her, but she was just never coming forward. I've done a marathon. I've done a fucking marathon. So it's understandable, man. Like,
plus, what if Korean Zombie looked at the clock? What if Ankalaev looked at the clock?
This is true.
Okay. Some streaks could have been saved right there. Just saying.
This is very true. Let's move on to the prelims. We'll touch on Josh Emmett, Dan Ige very quickly, other than just to say he might not win, but you've got to give Dan Ige some credit because he knows how to survive and he knows how to keep himself in fights that he really, in terms of athleticism and physicality, shouldn't be in. I thought Josh Emmett looked a little rusty. Little slow, looking for the big shot, which you can understand.
I think after Ige hurt him the first time, Emmett was a little more like, okay, I can't throw nothing because I can't let him get into a rhythm. I can't let him outstrike me like that, but I can't keep loading up because God fucking damn, like, this kid's got some power too. I don't want to go to sleep. I don't want an early night.
Yeah.
It was a fun fight though.
Dan Ige fought a good fight, but I just feel he gets outgunned. Just out strengthed or out, it's just these little things where he's so good at sort of like, evening the percentages, but he's just not always quite able to kind of get the foot up. It's very similar to, it reminds me a lot of Pedro Munoz maybe in that regard, where it's all there.
Yeah, they're both guys that need a finish, like Ige's kind of at his best when he can finish someone. Because otherwise, it's a lot of split decisions. And, some of these split decisions, like the Barboza one, I don't think he won. So yeah, he's a fun guy, limited guy, like you say, at his best when he's knocking someone out. But fuck.
And for
You
Josh
got
Emmett,
sorry.
well, he's had his knee completely reconstructed basically between his last fight and this fight. So I think for him, he was just happy to be back out there, getting a win, keeping himself relevant.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look at his best, but he didn't look bad.
Enough.
I'm going to give him a little bit more credit for the performance off the back of Ego's power. I just think he kind of got tamed a little bit. But fun fight. Glad to see Emmett come back, put away 50k. Who got the performances on
Oh,
this?
he put away 50k. Sorry, I thought you meant
Yeah.
he got a bonus for that.
I thought it might be a double entendre, but no, the performances. Well, I'll save it until we've gone through all of those fights.
Let's move on off this fight and let's spend a couple of minutes talking about Dominic Cruz, because I didn't think he was going to win this fight, and he got caught. He got caught pretty fucking hard. Didn't look particularly good from there, but he just did so well. And considering that he wasn't able to land a single takedown, the fact that he was just able to outstrike Pedro in those second 2 rounds, I was amazed by. I was so impressed. I thought it completely changed my opinion on where Dominic Cruz is in his career.
It's about the healthiest I've seen him look in like a decade. I think it's probably the first time since the Mizugaki fight he didn't look like his knees were absolute garbage. And as a result, yeah, he had to get sat down. He had to kind of get like rocked a little to get woken up. But the second and the third round, well, even the end of the first round, just teeing off on him with those hooks right at the end of the rounds. Man, this was like vintage Dominic Cruz. He looks fucking good.
There was an aggression to him, man. Like, I've seen Dominic Cruz land and think you're a point fighter, and some of the hooks and shots he was landing, he was sitting down on in a way that I haven't really seen him sit down on as much before.
Since the Mizugaki fight. That's what I'm saying. You give the man 2 good knees. Shit. He was one of the fucking best to ever do it in this weight class for a reason.
This fight completely changed my opinion on him. It turned him from still good, but probably won't beat the top guys, and this will be a sad story, to who says he can't fight for the belt again? Did he beat Pedro as impressively as Aldo did? No. But he's a different kind of fighter, and he still had the same effect of just looking like he's a notch above.
To be honest, at this age now, he's not as fast as he was. And he does hit hard, but he's never been like, he's always been a guy that kind of went for the decision. He's always a smart fighter, never loaded it up too much, just kind of like, would use the shots as a way to kind of change movement, hide like ankle picks, knee picks. But he does dip at the end of combinations a lot, especially if he doesn't get the takedown at the end. He just threatens the level change. He leaves his head out to the side. He's been caught. Cejudo caught him. And I think in this weight class, there's a lot of guys that would love to take advantage of his head being out, off center, off balance, just stuck out like that. I think a guy like Sandhagen eats him alive. Aldo probably eats him alive. Font definitely eats him alive. It's just a lot of bad matchups for him at this age,
Probably not wrong.
His style can always be a bit of a threat.
It's not so much that I think he'd win those fights now, or before I thought he'd lost them. It's more that I don't think he's as far back from that group after Saturday as I did before Saturday. Is that reasonable to say?
Yeah. He looks healthy again, right? Like he looks like a professional athlete again.
And hey, he didn't say anything too batshit crazy in the press conference, apart in the post-fight interview or the press conference, apart from having a dig at Keith Peterson by thanking Mark Goddard for being such a great referee and letting him continue. But he didn't say any other crazy shit. So apart from shitting all over DC, which kind of led to one of my favorite interviews of the year. No, it's a good night for Dominic. Well played. For Pedro, man, fuck me, dude. Like, you got to go for it a little bit more. Like, he gets frustrated and he gets lost, and then he just becomes this. Just standing there, just waiting for something to happen. It happened in the last couple of rounds of the Frankie fight. It's happened against Aldo. It's happened against Dominic Cruz. And it's disappointing because he's a really fucking nice guy. And on his day, he's a good fighter. He just can't get past this plateau.
Exactly.
I know it's unfortunate. Munoz just kind of had a bad run of it, but I mean, you never know. You never know. You never know for either of these guys. Unfortunately, though, there is a lot of talent like directly below and directly above them in this weight class. So they're not going to get a lot of chances to prove everybody wrong at this stage.
No. Right. We need to talk about my conspiracy theory now. Sly agrees with me. Tai Tuivasa, known for the shoey, gets an impressive knockout that I think we all thought he was going to get against Sakai. Very impressive. I mean, set it up well, was patient. Once he landed that combination, it was just deadly. Knocked him out badly. And then he jumps on the cage to do a shoey. Straight away, I knew something was wrong. The liquid didn't have any bubbles in it. Didn't have any color to it. Completely transparent. And then as it dripped down his stomach, it was completely clear. Kind of clear that water is. And he did not have the look on his face of a man who has just had a refreshing beer from another man's shoe with spit in it. He looked like a guy who just drank some water.
USADA, is alcohol a banned in competition substance?
Well, this is what I wanted.
Until you've done your post sample, right? Your post fight piss. Can't be doing shit like that, right?
But here's the thing. As soon as he left the octagon, I saw him do genuine shoeys. Because you could see the beer frothing up in the shoe. You could see the beer color going into his mouth. You could see the fucking foam, all this kind of stuff. I think it was a Vegas thing. I think they kind of told him, like, listen, man, like, we can't.
He's in the crowd, but not in the cage.
Yeah, like, we can't have a professional athlete in the cage spilling beer all over the place.
It's like a pool table. You can't have your beer on the felt. God damn, you animal.
Whereas that's my theory. That's my theory. But it's really disappointing.
You really oversold this theory by originally calling it a conspiracy. I really wanted to know where you were going with this.
Here's my conspiracy theory, because you'd think in that situation, they just say, okay, don't do the shoey. But they still did the shoey, which means that they had a conversation with Ty where they said to him, listen, man, you can't do it, but we really love the shoey, even though it can't be a real shoey because it's a good marketing thing for you. So if you win, we still want you to do a fake shoey, but with water instead.
So is the earth flat or not?
Of course the earth's not flat. What are we even doing here?
Talking conspiracies, man. Let's get involved.
There's a lot of degrees between did Tai Tuivasa have beer or water in his shoey to flat earth theory.
I've heard some people tell me it was flat, man.
I'm sure you have.
Those
people I believe are misinformed.
They told me.
I had an ex-girlfriend that told me she saw a very convincing video on YouTube. It's just not what you want to be hearing. No, that was not a conspiracy. As with all conspiracies, there was no weight to it. It was a theory. It was an interesting one. I think you're probably right.
Sorry. As with all conspiracies, loads of conspiracies have proven to be true.
Well, hang on. At that point, it's not really, a
conspiracy anymore.
Conspiracy as much as it is a scandal.
Yeah, but there's a procedure where conspiracies become scandals. So, for example, the golf incident.
No one refers to Watergate as a conspiracy. That was a scandal.
It was a conspiracy.
Whereas no one refers to QAnon as a scandal because that is a conspiracy. There's
completely different situation. Watergate was a definition of a oh my God, using the words, it was the definition of a conspiracy until it got outed, in which case it became a scandal. But a conspiracy is literally just two people, a group of two or more conspiring to do something.
Yes. Yeah, but when you're conspiring and you still have that air of secrecy to it, you don't go around to the other co-conspirators going, we're conspirators, this is a conspiracy.
Right, guys.
You just go about it.
Conspiracy is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful.
Second definition, please.
The action, no, let's say the action of plotting or conspiring. That's
Oh.
but that is the opposite definition is a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. So it can be true or not true.
I know Dave loves stuff like this.
I'm going to look up the Oxford definition on that because I don't.
No, I agree with you. Like the
something...
definition of conspiracy is this, but when people refer to conspiracies, what they're largely referring to are unfounded or unproven hypotheses. You know, potential scandals brewing.
Yeah.
Either way, look great.
I was obviously half joking when I said conspiracy. It was just a much more fun way.
No.
Josh took it really seriously.
Our complaint was you had us on tenterhooks. We were very excited. We wanted to know what this conspiracy was. It's all right though.
Did you see how before he explained it, he took me into his conspiracy like I was part of his fucking group.
You
he was
agreed
like,
with me.
He was. Yeah. We went. By the way, I've got a conspiracy, and Sylvester's on with it. You know, he's with it. And then he explained it. And I was like, I'm with this.
Yeah, no, it was like the two of you. Like I heard the ding. I felt the aircon hit my face as I walk into the Scientology Welcome Center. That's what you two look like.
Okay, I'll save my conspiracy theory talk for when I think a fight's been fixed or some shit for next time.
Yeah, or if Josh thinks that Brad Riddell looked kind of big.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
That's a conspiracy, right?
It was a light-hearted conspiracy, which I still view as a conspiracy because it's not like they said, hey guys, for legal reasons, he can't do an actual shoey. We're going to give him water. It's a lot of fun. So I still stand by that point. But moving on, Jordan Wright got knocked out.
This is another, I like to stand and bang on my chin right fucking out there. I mean, I called it, man. I said, like, this guy, he does like to fight with his chin out a little bit. I've seen him get knocked out. I've seen him get rocked and I've seen him get caught. And I think Bruno Silva was going to knock him out. And I'm going to talk about it because I didn't get a lot of the fights right. But the ones that I got right, I got the fucking methods right and all. And I fucking knew exactly what was going to happen in this one. Man, Jordan Wright looked really fucking good until he didn't. Bruno Silva, as always, has some heavy fucking hands. What a dumb way to fight a guy like Silva.
The problem is that when you're moving laterally, when you're using your feet to avoid punches and keeping your distance, your chin being up isn't as big of an issue because the idea is that you're kind of using your feet to defend. You're just getting out of space. But once you're just standing there, just going, ha, 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 little bit of fucking chin down, moving to the side, something, because eventually you're going to get hit.
Yeah. I mean, he's fun to watch, and I think he could beat some dangerous people, but Jordan Wright has really got to fucking, I don't know, move up in weight, move down in weight, or just learn how to tuck his fucking chin, because...
I don't think that's the issue, man. I think he's just a young guy who went 10-0 before he went into the UFC, and he knocked everybody out, and he didn't have to learn. We just were talking about it, man. When you knock everybody out on your way up, you don't learn in the same way that, okay, listen, Dan Egate has got his flaws, but those tough fights that he's had have kind of taught him how to survive and have to pick these moments and be a little bit smarter in there. If Dan Egate knocked everyone he's ever fought out until he got into the UFC in round one, we might not see the same fight IQ.
Yeah, man, but I mean, I think Villanueva cracked him. I can't remember if Pickett did. That one was pretty quick. Obviously, Buckley rocked him before knocking him the fuck out. Got a couple of knockdowns in that one. This guy's had the opportunity to learn, This is an issue dating back, a couple years now, or at least a year and a half. Shit. How stubborn do you have to be? Because this is not the weight class for it.
I know what you mean. But listen, it didn't work out for him. It worked out well for Bruno Silva. He's delighted. Tell you who else it didn't work out very well for. Eric Anders. That was a terrible fucking segue, but oh man.
Yeah.
I told you all about this.
I agreed with you.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying you didn't agree. I'm just saying I told you.
I didn't disagree with you. I just called you treacherous bastards. Look, he set up that armbar really nicely.
Yeah.
Just lots of little next level things that Andre needs, and even he said it after the fight. When I caught Souza, people were kind of saying like, you know, it was a bit of like a weird one. I fucking said that in the pick show, and he's gone, you know, maybe this is my position. Maybe this is just where I'm really effective. So he's still figuring it out himself. I'll give him a lot more credit now for the Souza fight and for this one. You know, Muniz is he's a dangerous fucking guy on the ground.
Yeah.
Anders, fucking sucks, man. But you know, like he's our boy. On to the next one.
Well,
You know,
next
he's the
boy.
kind of guy who's always going to come back strong. But
It was a tough matchup for him, man.
Yeah.
It's, you know, is what it is.
Do we still like him?
Of course do, man. He's a fucking legend.
Sly. How dare you?
Sorry.
And listen, he was back down at
You can tell you and
middleweight.
Tom are related.
He was back down at middleweight, but one of the issues is that guys are faster, and I think he got done by a bit of speed. Listen, Andre Muniz is really good, man. Like no one's ever tapped out Souza before in mixed martial arts. You got to give that credit.
Tough fight.
It was a tough fight. What was the next fight, Dan? Can't remember.
Oh shit, Blanchfield Maverick.
Oh, mate, Maverick got destroyed. I was wrong on that.
Yeah, so I guess Blanchfield's pretty good at grappling. I mean, we already knew that she was good. We were excited, but Maverick's like a legit prospect. I did. Did you guys pick Blanchfield? We all go Maverick.
Maverick. I think you
Yeah.
might pick Blanchfield. Sly. Don't know.
I didn't. I thought there'd be a gap, and I thought it'd be the other way. Blanchfield is fucking lights out.
I think
I
Maverick
have stood up and taken notice.
Yeah, listen, Blanchfield was very impressive. I think Maverick, the takedowns in the second and third round, I think she'll be very frustrated by, because she got a little careless. I think she could have done a better job, and I don't think it was till the third round she realized this girl's wrestling. Like, she's not trying to punch. She's not any of that. She is going straight for the wrestling the whole time. That needs to be the only concern.
I think that's what I mentioned in the. I think that's why I took her.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. She's going to just wrestle fuck her.
Well, you were right, Sly, and I was wrong.
Hey, it's just luck, Matt. It's just luck.
Ryan Hall had a far less Ryan Hall-like win, but just a kind of a win-win.
See, I didn't see this fight. Did Ryan Hall do any weird Ryan Hall shit?
Yeah,
A little bit, but it was it wasn't the Poirier fight where he's just doing like a half step, roll every single time. He was a little bit smarter, a couple of spinning kicks, a couple of body kicks, and there were a couple of situations where Minna took him to the ground, and that was a big mistake. And he was able to kind of do his Ryan Hall thing, but just lots of good top control. Top controlled his way to victory, really. Very smart.
Yeah, or constantly threatened like leg locks from the bottom and found good ways to roll into him. And it was great. Like, Minna was defending so well, constantly keeping his knee just above like the lock. And really did a fantastic job of trying to like kind of manipulate the 50-50 in his favor where he could. But yeah, when he went down, when he took Hall down in the second round, and James Krause is just screaming like, "What are you doing?" It's like the confidence from the first round didn't really serve him too well.
No.
Because he kept it reasonably close, although it was always going to be a decision for Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall was a little surprised at, I think, one of the scorecards, and then still does his little like, "Oh, guess I won." But shit like that's why I love Ryan Hall. It was just a good fucking performance from Hall. I thought Minna did reasonably well in the first round, and then after that it was just kind of hanging in there a little bit. But yeah, Ryan Hall showed I wouldn't say like a more evolved approach or a more sensible or reasonable approach as much as he just did what he had to do to beat Minna, and it's what you need to see from Ryan after the Poirier fight. Let's have like a quick step up. Don't be Davey Grant. Don't let the game go past before we can see your brilliance.
Who's he going to fight next then, Josh?
Oh shit, man. I don't know. I mean, if he's not going to take a ranked guy, maybe like let's keep picking on Glory MMA. Maybe show the world that you can like do something against like a KGD.
That's a tough fight.
Oh shit! Actually, do you know what? Like, if he isn't retired after the Clay Guida one,
Santos?
yeah, Yeah, that'd
He's
be
a
a pretty
lightweight,
cool one.
isn't he?
Oh yeah, shit. Sorry, what am I talking about? Fuck yeah, I don't really know, but
I think
this is the
just
problem.
keep
I should be the one to pick it because it's got to be something I'm not comfortable with. We really got to throw him out there now.
I think just keep fighting that same kind of unranked featherweight level of guy. You haven't fought in ages. Get the cobwebs off. Get used to being in there again. Fight a Dontel Jackson. Fight somebody like that.
Yeah,
You know,
KGD's up at lightweight now as well, isn't he?
yeah, exactly.
I'm just all over on that one. Yeah.
Well, listen, we're going to move past Ryan Hall anyway. We're going to go to Tony Kelly, who just smothered Randy Costa. I mean, that was just, you want to talk about just draining the tank before you put it on. That was exactly what happened. Costa never had space. He never had time to set up his explosive strikes. And halfway through round one, he just looked knackered. The way the shoulders were moving, you could just see this guy he's half checked out already. He hasn't got that much left.
Yeah, because part of he's kind of thinking like if Costa can like hold on through that early like flurry in the first round, then maybe like he's going to be the fresher guy. And just Kelly just landed so much nasty like shit to the body that Costa was just broken, exhausted, pulling hard on the air, nothing there. Just it was fucking beautiful from Kelly. I wish I'd picked him.
Agreed. And then rounding off the card, Gillian Robertson, very impressive win. And we got to talk about this. Priscilla Cochera misses weight by 3 pounds, is being choked out with about 15 seconds left to go, goes for not 1, not 2, but 3 eye gouges. This is fucking filthy. This is absolutely fucking filthy. I'm so glad she got the choke in, but just imagine if Gillian had let go as a result, and then the fight goes to the second round. And then Priscilla ends up, maybe her vision's affected and she ends up losing the rest of the fight. Disgrace from Cochera. One of the dirtiest ways I've ever seen somebody try and get out of a choke.
What is the
I've seen that specific thing like before as well. Like fighters are not above raking each other's eyes. There's been a lot of really, really dirty fighters in MMA. You know what? Cachoeira was fighting like a chick who I believe is going to get cut. I knew that when that choke was sunk in, I have to do something to try and get to the next round.
Why would she get cut?
It's Suarez biting people. This is 3 losses of 5, right?
Yeah, but she's won 2 on the bounce.
She had. So she lost 2, won 2, and then lost 1. We've seen a lot of UFC fighters get cut with better records recently.
True.
They've never been that high on her. Her debut the debut was Shevchenko, right?
I think so, yeah.
I think she's definitely getting cut. And I think she knew she was getting cut going in if she lost.
Well, after that behavior, I'm not obsessed about that. Robertson moves on. Listen, putting away my own severe disappointment as a lot of my favorite fighters losing aside, this was a great card. Loads of shit to talk about. Big upsets, big wins, good fights, good finishes, and hell of a way to close out the pay-per-view year. Although there is, of course, one last event this weekend. We got Derek Lewis against the big Daukus. Just a couple of other really good fights. I think we got Wonderboy versus Bilal, remember the name, Mohammed, which is also going to be pretty sick. And Josh will have no interest in talking about this, but maybe you and I can do a quick 10-minute video for this. We have got Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley, the DOS, stepping in to replace Tommy Fury.
The first one was so painful. I don't want to watch
it. Did you see why Tommy Fury had to pull out?
Broken ribs?
No, do you know how it happened?
Yeah, Tyson Fury just repeatedly medicine balling him in the side of the ribs.
No, apparently someone in the gym, some dude like heavyweight, like 230 odd pounds, cracked him in the ribs with no gloves on, and that's how he broke his ribs.
Yeah,
that's what John Fury's been coming out and saying.
Oh shit.
Yeah, which is like, for one, why would he even be in that fucking situation? Doesn't make sense, unless he was there when Billy Joe Sanders wasn't stabbing people, and it wasn't a guy in the gym. It was just some other cunt punching him bare fisted in the ribs. But boxers are a weird breed.
Pussies.
And you know, the traveling community aren't exactly any saner. I don't fucking care. But yeah, this, you know,
Well,
for whatever reason, that's apparently how he got his ribs cracked.
it's Woodley's fight now. He's got his chance to redeem himself. We will, whether it's just me or Tom or whoever I get to talk about this, we will discuss it and what his hopes are, whether or not we think it's going to be a different result, same result but more dominant. I think we'll save the news as well for the pick show, guys, because I don't think there's too much.
Yeah,
locked out.
I don't know too much about the specifics, but obviously Chiesa got dragged out by police trying to celebrate Pena's win. Obviously both sick jitsu fighters. Apparently he got injured in the process.
Oh shit! That's
so hopefully it's not too bad. We'll try and follow up on that in the pick show.
We'll follow up on that in the pick show. For now, guys, thanks for watching. Bye, Dave. Bye, Laurie. Bye, Trifo. We'll see you later in the week.
Bye, Laurie. Bye, Dave.
Yeah.